This 6,000 square foot open space houses criminals from opposing races and gangs, crammed together with no cells to separate them. And when violence breaks out, inmates will be ready. They arm themselves with crude and deadly weapons. Officer Michael Smith and the Investigative Services Unit, or ISU, have recovered hundreds of them.
Here we have several weapons that we've discovered throughout the years here at Ironwood, but it kind of shows how ingenious these guys are when it comes to creating weapons within a facility. This is kind of an interesting weapon. We call it the carrot weapon, and it's a toothbrush filed down to a point, and it was inserted into the ground. As you can see, it was wrapped with a lot of shrubbery. It just looked like a weed on the yard. Inmates know where it's at, or the inmates who made it. So it looks like that. If a riot kicks off or something spontaneous happens, they need to retrieve a weapon quickly. They can go to that area, find this weed, pull it up, and they have an instant weapon. Some of the more dangerous ones, and we refer to them as bone crushers, big weapons like this, large piece of metal stock. Bone crushers typically create a puncture-type wound. We also have a tomahawk-type weapon that would cause a large slicing wound or an incised wound. Very painful, causes a lot of bleeding, made of razor blades.
Weapons like these aren't just used on enemies. Racial groups and gangs will stab members who don't follow rules. New inmates quickly learn race determines who they wreck with, walk with, and who they obey. Gang specialist Mike Smith gets word. There's a fight on Ironwood State Prison's A yard. 3 members of a Hispanic gang attacked a rival gangster. Officers order the 200 inmates in the yard to get on the ground. Staff cuff and cage the attackers for questioning. It's now up to Smith to find out what happened before the violence spreads.
Where you live on the streets? What's your bed?
I live in Diamond Bar.
Diamond Bar?
Yeah.
Hispanic gangs refuse to discuss gang matters with outsiders.
How long you had your campo?
Oh, about a while.
Where'd you get in prison?
I think I've done it in the streets.
So Smith looks for information elsewhere, on their skin.
We're gonna walk right out that door.
You know, tattoos, it's like a picture tells 1,000 words.
Look straight at the camera, please.
Tattoos, especially gang tattoos, are gonna tell you where he's from, who he hangs out with, the cliques within the gangs, what his moniker may be, who may have been killed that are his friends. It's gonna give you a broad spectrum of gang intel.
You got this on the streets, huh?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what it means?
No.
Why would you put something on your body you don't know what it means?
I just liked it. Everybody else had it.
Each racial group and gang sport a specific tattoo design and style.
If you're talking about the whites, it's typically gonna be skulls, demons, dragons. If you're looking at black tattoos, you're gonna deal with a lot of probably monikers and or gang names. If you're dealing with Hispanic tattoos, you're gonna see quite a bit of Aztec cultural tattoos, different symbols that mean different things within the Aztec culture that are adapted by Southern Hispanic gang members and used for their own terms.
According to Smith, this inmate's tattoos clearly identify him as a member of a Mexican street gang, something he'd never admit to an officer.
How long you been a gangster?
Not.
It's just a matter of practice. You gotta read the tattoos, you gotta look at all the fine, intricate detail.
Identifying the gangsters means Smith can keep a close eye on them. But that may not be enough to stop a riot.
Sam 10, Sam.
Dozens of gangs vie for power at Ironwood. Like the Skinheads, the Bloods, and the Crips. Inmates must obey the rules of their race and their gang, or they'll be beaten. Rule number 1, if one member is threatened, the whole group fights back.